In the 90s, Jim Carrey was a red hot commodity, achieving blockbuster success with the likes of Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Batman Forever, Liar Liar, The Truman Show, the list goes on. But the road wasn't without its bumps, which brings us to The Cable Guy, released in 1996. While technically still a profit maker, it was nowhere near as huge as his other pictures, and got pretty split reviews from audiences. I myself have only watched it all the way through once, and yeah, I wasn't overly keen, mainly because I thought Carrey was too annoying. I mean, Carrey is usually loud and annoying on purpose, but there's a limit of tolerance, and this went over that limit. But in the years since, I regularly thought about it, and took into consideration from others that his annoyance in this film is the entire point, and the more I mulled that over, the more I feel like I may have misjudged this. So finally, I'm here to give it a second chance. Let's begin with Carrey himself as Ernie Douglas, aka Chip, who comes with a memorable look, mainly that distinct flat rounded haircut. Now from a performance standpoint, sure, just like I recalled, some of his acting and line deliveries swing too far into trying too hard territory, again stepping over that limit. But for the most part, it was nowhere near as painful as I remember, and I actually found myself fairly entertained. I forgot that he was a fairly fleshed out character, complete with a believable backstory and everything, compiled by writer Lou Holtz Jr. He was a boy who was glued to the telly because his mother neglected him as a child. Thus he became someone who became obsessed with movies and television and media in general, and in turn became a loner. So it makes total sense why he would grow up and develop into this sort of person who's incredibly weird and off and unable to behave socially in public. As a matter of fact, this character's seemingly only gotten better and more relevant in the age of internet and social media. After one positive interaction, he immediately assumes that Steven is his friend, and he quickly shifts into becoming, well, an incel, who stalks Steven and knows every detail of him. Every waking minute, he won't leave him alone, he just wants to hang out. He doesn't accept no for an answer. And when he doesn't get his way, and Steven ultimately rejects him and tries to throw him away, he only gets worse as he dives into psychotic lunacy. And this is where it devolves into a gaslighting horror, as he ruins Steven's life, making him look like the bad person, putting him in jail for the free entertainment system, invading his family get-togethers, getting him sacked, bugging his place, trying to steal his girl, the whole 9 yards. But with that hint of tragedy taken into consideration his upbringing. So he's like a tragic Shakespeare villain, but in the very, very absolute loosest sense, to be clear. And now that I've come back to this with a fresh perspective, I totally get it. I think in my first viewing, I was maybe too caught up in Carrey acting more over the top than usual, and getting a little irritated by that. But now, being able to brace myself for that, and free myself to focus on the rest of the big picture, Chip is a fascinating figure, and like I said, has transformed into a scarily timeless character. So that's Carrey. What about everyone else in the cast? Well, yeah, as you expect, he kind of overpowers everything, so the others can't match up to him. The closest is co-star Matthew Broderick as Steven. Now, he's not the best of actors, usually he's a bit too bland and awkward, but in hindsight, he's actually the perfect choice for this movie. He's the other side of the extreme, opposite Chip, being more normal and quieter. And you also understand why he takes up Chip's offers early on. Because the guy is fresh off a breakup and needs some sort of fulfillment to snap him out of his slump. But of course, when things take a turn, you can relate really hard to his frustrations and anxiety from that point forward. Leslie Mann, who's usually quite funny, is not really given much to do as Robin. Her character is super basic. I don't care for her and Steven's relationship, she's just a means to an end. Quite a shame. We've got Jack Black as Rick, in one of his earliest supporting roles pre-leading man days. God, here he's so youthful and baby-faced and a little slimmer. He gets a few moments, but surprisingly not much. We get a decent addition of cameos from Andy Dick, Owen Wilson, David Cross, Kyle Gass, and George Segal and Diane Baker as Steven's parents, but again, nothing outstanding, except for Janine Garofalo, more on her in a sec. It's directed by Ben Stiller, far from award-winning stuff, but he does make sure that the movie is constantly active. And that includes some neat moments with the camera. Robert Brinkman in charge on that front, and we get a couple of bits that stand out, like the shot for the door hole, or Stephen going for the car park. I enjoy the 90s vibe all around, with so many novelties like the pagers, payphones, old computers and mobiles, and then especially the TV related stuff like the presence of static, VHSs, a limited amount of channels, those blocky screens, no streaming at all, the then popular idea of legal cable pre-internet, home shopping for the telly, the now vintage home entertainment system, getting breaking news direct from there instead of off your phone. I'm just a sucker for time capsule stuff like this. The comedy is far from the best I've seen, but there are definitely plenty of funny jokes. Like when Chip hints at what happened to the previous owners, you think it's going to be a murder story or something, but no, it's just a lot of cats used to live there. I love the ongoing Sam Sweet case, featuring Ben Stiller as the former Double Trouble child star, which is then adapted into a serial featuring Eric Roberts. It's all wonderfully sinister. The basketball game is alright, but Chip's warm-up makes me laugh. There's Chip leaving the umpteen voicemails, then the entirety of Medieval Times, my personal highlight of the film, with Janine Garofalo in a heat check, delivering that iconic quote about cutlery and Pepsi, and the entire battle, including the Star Trek homage, which ties into Chip's TV obsession. I must say to my American audience, as a Scottish guy, I can't believe that this is actually a real place. It's just so awesome, although the cost for upkeep must be mad. I like Chip's karaoke jam, showcasing Carrey in his unreal unlimited energy. There's Chip popping up out of nowhere in the cubicle of Owen Wilson, that's an elite visual joke. There's the game of Password, there's the nightmare scene where Carrey is off the charts, with John Ottman's score amplifying things, and lastly, the fittingly bonkers climax, which also puts a brilliant bow on the Sam Sweet saga. In recent years, I've built a new movie-going philosophy, which is that first impressions are BS. You can't rely on fresh thoughts. You need time to let them sit, settle, and steam a little. It's not until you see a film at least a second time where you can forge a way more solid opinion, and this is a model example as to why I believe in that. Upon this long overdue second viewing, I have a new appreciation for The Cable Guy. Now, to be clear, I would call it good, not great, and would rank it as one of the lesser Jim Carrey films of the decade. But still, it's got enough elements that I enjoy and admire, especially with Chip's character development, and it makes me glad that I was willing to give it another chance. Put on your bathing suit and you'll be channel surfing in no time. I'm Jason, and this is Small Movie World, watching, talking, and loving films.